Alright, let's discuss today for why the Myers-Briggs test is fundamentally not compatible with most people and why most people don't get the results that actually fit their personality. So one problem about these assessments from Myers-Briggs is that people don't fully always know how to objectively address themselves, or sometimes that the questions are skewed in a way in where people say think one thing about themselves but are according to the Myers-Briggs indicator. So I'll go for instances some today for what are some problems. So one problem, for instance, is that some people think they're more of one attribute over another. So the four attributes of Myers-Briggs are introversion, extroversion for the first one. The second one is sensing or intuition. The third one is thinking or feeling. And the fourth one is perceiving and judging. Now, from what we hear from that, sometimes people can actually fit into either category. Now, this isn't to say that people's personalities can't change or not, but according to Myers-Briggs, people are should and actually are embodied into one personality when they are born. So, if that's said, there could be covariations when one's personality can be more extroverted, more introverted, or some people might feel more feeling than thinking, or thinking than feeling. And with this in mind, with this covariation, this can actually lead to problems for what people actually want to be. So most of the time, people actually think they're smart. So when they're answering these Myers-Briggs questionnaires, they will get answers like this. Are you most likely to put thought into a certain, or are you most likely to go for your feeling kind of question? And most of the time, people will say they'll think for the kind of thing, or um, or they're less likely to say they're a feeling, or they're less likely to cry for a certain situation. And sometimes someone can be very emotional internally, but they can be very rigid or seem flat on the outside, but it doesn't mean they're not any less emotional. So this can create problems for what actually fits a person's personality. And so most people will not answer, for instance, that they are sensor types. Everyone thinks they're very intuitive. This is a self-absorbed perception in which most people actually think their intuition is amazing. They're special, they're unique. And it's more likely to, when you get questions like this on an assessment, that people will say they are intuitive. And another instance is that practically every or most people we speak to think they're also introverts. Um, Everyone does have that side of their lives or days in which they want to be quiet, they don't want to talk to anyone, they want to be introverted, which is fine and normal. But the thing is, most people think they are shy in the end. And in the end, everyone is kind of shy in their own way. No one's completely fully open in the way you think. But the result is that people think they're introverted than actually they are in reality extroverted. And there is actually an assessment to easier ways, shortcuts to understand a person's personality, but I'm not going to get into that today. So what I have just said is that from what I'm telling you is that people will rank their personalities different from what they actually think when we do these assessments. And as a result, we'll get personality outcomes or tests that doesn't fit their character. And so this tells you the flaws of Myers-Briggs indicator today, is that people don't know who, or the questions are secluded in a way for people to be suggestively saying something or putting a response that actually isn't what you would expect. So most people will not respond to something that says that have you ever had this? Are you more likely to have an inclination to go with your gut or instincts? See, any personality can have that fundamentally. It's not only an intuitive thing, a sensor can have it in certain situations. And the last thing I would probably mention is the judgment and perceiving thing. That tends to be very skewed in its own self. Everyone can be judgmental in their own right, and sometimes people can be going with the flow. And with Myers-Briggs, that actually, from my critiques from others like socionics, that actually tends to be a critique from what I've heard, is that the judging perceiving is not always clear. So what I'm saying today is basically, if you want a quick summary, is that don't we can't always trust what people think of themselves or what they feel about themselves, because that, most from what I've read or what I've looked at from most people, they don't know even fully how to respond to themselves for these kind of questions, or b, they don't know, um, what they say is actually not their true characteristics. So when looking at further Myers-Briggs indicators, we have to be skeptical for seeing how things for people can look at themselves, and whether we should find a new assessment or a new means of an objective assessment where people can evaluate and determine what your true personality is, in the future.